Look around you. The world is a stage. From the moment we open our eyes, we don our masks and step onto the scene. The handshake at work, the rehearsed smile in a meeting, the sweet words spoken to a friend or a lover. Nothing is innocent. Everything is a performance. You trust the scripts of others. You cling to the words spoken with conviction. But behind every line, there is an actor with their own desires, fears, and strategies. The truth that few have the courage to admit is this: everyone is acting. Everyone is negotiating for power, influence, affection. And you, without realizing it, may just be watching, believing in the play without seeing the strings that move the puppets. 500 years ago, in a Florence of splendor and conspiracy, a man was cast out from the stage, tortured, humiliated, exiled. His name, Niccolò Machiavelli. In the silence of ostracism, he watched. He observed the machinery of power. He saw how men said one thing and did another, how fear governed more than love. And he wrote a code. Not for villains, as the simple-minded preach, but for survivors. Today, we will follow this code, not to learn how to manipulate, but to learn how to see, so that we may never again be puppets in the theater of the world. Chapter 1: The Iron Law of Actions. The first tactic is the foundation of all Machiavellian clarity. It is the rock upon which you must build your perception of the world, and it is absolute. Ignore the words. Judge only and solely by the actions. Why is this so difficult? Because words are seductive. They are the opium of the mind. The human brain is wired for cooperation, for trust. We want to believe the world is as it is presented to us. It's more comfortable. The cognitive dissonance of accepting that someone who says good things to us might be doing us harm is too painful. So we prefer the comfortable lie over the inconvenient truth. Machiavelli calls this strategic childishness. He wrote that men in general judge more by their eyes than by their hands. In other words, we judge by appearances, by what we hear, not by what we touch, by what is real, tangible. A daily example: you know someone who always says, "We have to get together soon, I miss you." But when the time comes, they cancel. They disappear for days. They never take the initiative. The words say, "You are important." The actions scream, "You are not a priority." Now, see how this manifests in power. Consider Cesare Borgia, Machiavelli's great inspiration. Borgia was a master of peaceful words. He invited his enemies, the captains Orsini and Vitelli, to a city called Sinigalia, under the pretext of a glorious reconciliation. There were embraces, banquets, promises of a united future. The words were perfect. The action? As night fell, he had them all strangled. His word was a tool. His action was his intent. Human nature for Machiavelli is immutable. It is moved by self-interest, fear, and the relentless pursuit of power. Words are the camouflage for these instincts. Actions? Actions are the confession. Do you want to know if your business partner is trustworthy? Don't listen to their promises to share the profits. Observe how they act with money when the pressure rises. Do you want to know who your friend is? Don't listen to what they say in your triumph. Observe who they become in your absence, in your crisis. Action is the effectual truth of the soul. It is the only manuscript that cannot be forged. In our first meeting on this channel, we spoke of how anxiety traps us in an imaginary future. That prison is built with the cement of empty words and promises, yours and those of others. Machiavelli offers us the key to escape, the verita effectuale, the truth of the facts. Anchoring your mind in the reality of what people do is the most powerful act of strategic self-care. It destroys the fog of social anxiety and returns to you immediately and brutally control. Chapter 2. The Engine of Fear. Now that we know that actions reveal more than words, we must decipher what drives these actions. Machiavelli tells us not to look for noble ideals, we must look for the engine. And the human psyche has a primary engine, one that burns hotter than love, loyalty, or greed. The second tactic is discover what the person fears losing most. The human mind operates on two primary levers, the desire to gain and the fear of losing. A novice in the game of power focuses on desire. They try to seduce with promises of gain. The master, the Machiavellian observer, focuses on fear. Because fear, the fear of losing status, of losing security, of losing control, is always and in all circumstances the strongest. The pain of loss is psychologically twice as powerful as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. Imagine the corporate scene. Your boss promotes you. He speaks of your talent, your future in the company, your loyalty. The words are of celebration, but the strategist does not listen. The strategist asks, what is the fear behind this action? Does he fear losing you to a competitor who has already scouted you? Does he fear his project will fail without your competence? Does he fear looking like a weak leader if he fails to recognize the obvious talent on his team? The promotion is not about you. It is about the neutralization of his fear. The hidden need, the secret dread, that is the string that moves the puppet. Find the string, and you will understand the entire show. How to find this string? Listen, but do not listen to the success stories. Listen to what is between the lines. Listen to what a person criticizes most vehemently in others. They are usually projecting an insecurity. Observe what they protect with disproportionate jealousy. Their time, their contacts, their reputation. Therein lies the fear. Observe whom they envy. Envy is a compass that points directly to what a person feels they lack and what they fear they will never have. By understanding someone's fear, you do not gain a weapon to attack them. You gain a map to predict their behavior. Fear is the most predictable force in the universe.
Chapter 3. The Laboratory of Character. Now that we understand how to read actions and what motivates them, we need a final test, a stress test for the soul. Because many people learn to disguise their actions and mask their fears when they are being observed. But true character, the fundamental structure of a person, reveals itself in the cracks. The third tactic is the darkest, for it forces us to use the world as a laboratory. Test the limits of the morality of others. Machiavelli gave us one of the most brutal and honest observations on human nature. Men forget the death of a father more quickly than the loss of their inheritance. A terrible truth, but a truth that protects us. It teaches us that people's loyalty to their own self-interest is almost always stronger than their loyalty to you. Testing this morality does not mean setting complex traps or tempting others to evil. It simply means opening your eyes to the small choices people make when they believe there are no consequences. When the curtain of the social theater closes for an instant. Virtue that only exists in the spotlight is not virtue. It is performance. A colleague preaches honesty at work, but when he receives too much change, he puts it in his pocket. A friend speaks of humility but treats the waiter poorly because he believes no one important is watching. These small moments are experiments, and they reveal a fundamental truth. Is a person's morality internal or external? Internal morality comes from a personal code of values. The person does not betray, does not deceive, because it would violate who they are. External morality comes from the fear of being caught. The person does not betray, does not deceive because they fear the social, legal, or reputational consequences. The vast majority of people operate on an external morality. And knowing this is a superpower. It does not make you a cynic. It makes you a realist. It allows you to know exactly how much trust to place in each person, in each situation. Virtue in the spotlight is not virtue. It is performance. And here enters the Machiavellian tactic, the test of worthless information. Tell someone something irrelevant, but present it as a secret. If that information leaks, you discover something precious, the person's internal algorithm. You discover if they are moved by the need for social validation or by silent loyalty. It is not in the great moral dilemma that character is revealed. It is in the small transgression. It is in the unimportant secret. Epilogue. Clarity as freedom. 3 tactics. Judge by actions, not by words. Look for fear, not desire. Test for character, not reputation. These lessons are not meant to breed paranoia. They are meant to offer clarity. Paranoia fears the imaginary. Clarity confronts the real. The world is not evil, but it is governed by interests. To close your eyes to this is to cast oneself as a willing victim. Just as the Stoic discipline of Marcus Aurelius, which we discussed before, taught how to build an inner fortress, Machiavelli offers us an outer fortress, lucidity. It protects you from deception. It frees you from naivete. It transforms you into a protagonist, not a puppet. In the end, Machiavelli does not teach you to be a wolf. He teaches you the anatomy, the habits, and the song of wolves, especially of those who hide, perfectly camouflaged, among the sheep. And in this knowledge, in this power to see the world as it is, and not as we are told it should be, lies the true prize, true freedom, sovereignty over your own mind.